Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Views. And this week it's a return of Who's Coming to Dinner. And I feel like I haven't done one of these for a while. And I love doing these. And my guest this week is Cindy from the Hypno Wellness podcast. So, hi Cindy, how are you doing?
How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I do love these episodes mainly because I get to hear people's lovely food ideas. And I finally, after about a year of doing these, learnt my lesson. I've just had my main meal. So, because afterwards I always feel really hungry. So, yeah, tell us about yourself, a little bit about yourself and your podcast first. So, I think you've been going for, a couple of years or just over a couple of years now, haven't you?
Just over a couple of years, about 2.5 years now. And I haven't missed one podcast upload. So that's I think that's a big accomplishment for myself.
I know that is really impressive because I mean I know there's been a few times where I've had to miss it. I think people underestimate how difficult it can be or time consuming it can be putting podcasts
Oh
out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it can. It can get you sometimes, especially if you don't feel well. That's the kicker. When you are sick and you still have to do it, and I had to edit out a bunch of coughing and sniffling. That's not fun.
I recently sort of had a bug of some sort and I was coming to edit the episodes and you know when you can just tell when you've not been feeling well because you can hear it in your own voice, can't
Yes.
you?
Oh yeah. And then you have to listen for every little thing, and you're like, "Oh, did I sniff too loud on that part?"
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Hypno Wellness podcast.
It really started because I didn't know how to get my hypnosis out there, to be honest. I live in the South in Alabama, and a lot of people just don't understand it, or they're scared of it, or they have a preconceived notion about hypnosis. And I couldn't think of any other way to do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. And that just opened up a whole can of worms.
And two and a
And
half years later, you're telling me your
I
dinner
know,
party
and
plans. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's the best thing that I ever did for myself was to start a podcast. And I've met so many wonderful people, and I've learned so much. I've learned how to edit. I've learned how to use different programs, and it amazes me like what you can learn and what you can do. And I didn't want to go back to hygiene because I was a hygienist for like 25 years, and I just kind of was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do now. So now I'm a podcaster.
It's incredible. What you said is absolutely true. I know most podcasters will also say it, but the community has just been brilliant. I didn't imagine when I started doing this that I'd have so many, people that I call friends, and especially you're in the PodPack
Yes.
chat as well. And it's a great group, isn't it?
Like, and I've just met amazing people, like really amazing people and if you have any kind of questions, or they're there to help you in a second. They'll DM you, what do you need? What can I do to help? And that just amazes me too.
So you mentioned you're a hygienist. So you are a certified hypnotherapist as well, right?
I was a dental hygienist for over 25 years. I worked in dental since I was 17. And I was in high school, and I used to get out of school for it was like a program that you did. So that's how I kind of got started in it. And then I wanted to be a hygienist. And then when I was a hygienist, I always loved hypnosis, and I studied it, and I got a little certificate in it, but you could never use it. Nobody ever wanted to say, hey, yeah, let's do this. Let's see if we can calm a patient down by using hypnosis. Like, they all thought it was hokey and, you're crazy for wanting to do something like that. And now I guess it's better received now than what it used to be. But, back in like the 90s and the early 2000s, like that wasn't something people cared for.
This is what I was going to ask you, is because absolutely the 90s, early 2000s, possibly going back to the 80s, if you said hypnosis to someone, it was those stage show acts, right? I mean, so when you look at that, do you think that set the genuine hypnotherapy back? Because it was seen as like a sideshow, wasn't it?
That I agree completely. Whenever they did things like that, and we still have those people that are out there that are doing, the sideshow hypnosis, but what they don't see behind the scenes is only a certain percentage of people can be hypnotized to that degree. And they have to do, they have to kind of vet people. Like they have to see how well you can be hypnotized in order to do that to somebody. So, it's not just like randomly walking up to somebody on the side of the road and going, "Hey, I'm going to hypnotize you. Let me pull your arm." You're hypnotized. So there's a little bit more behind the scenes than what we see. But I think that's what a lot of people think hypnosis is, that it's not to heal. It's not, they just see it as a cluck like a chicken.
Yeah, yeah. And it's definitely, I think, definitely changed in recent years. And it is, I mean, sort of, when I say genuine hypnotherapy, it's totally different, isn't it? Or from my understanding, you don't go sort of fully under, is it? It's just entering like a state of pure relaxedness. That's not even a word,
your
but you know what
your
I mean.
mind is there, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about hypnosis. They think you're supposed to be fully immersed and you're supposed to do everything that they tell you to do, but that's not how hypnosis works. If you try to hypnosis you try to hypnotize somebody into doing something that they don't want to do, they're not going to do it
Mm,
because
mm,
you're still there. It's hard to, when you're under, you know everything that's going on around you. So if there was an accident or one of your kids got hurt, or your phone rang, you can pull yourself right out of it. So there's a difference between being hypnotized and being brainwashed. Those are
yeah.
two separate, completely different things.
I know a few people who have used hypnotherapy for, the classics like smoking, or maybe they want to drink less of the sugary soda drinks, etc. And they've kind of used that. So is it like sort of suggestive, or just getting you into that state where you can, like you said, just be more, how do I say it? Not at one with yourself, but sort of understand yourself a little bit more.
Right. And see, in like Europe, y'all are way more progressive about hypnosis than we are here. Y'all have a lot more practitioners. You have a lot more. In fact, the program that I took was a Scottish man that I learned, the second certificate that I got, and they just know so much more. And I guess the U.S. is kind of falling behind on it, but they need to pick it up because it's so helpful. It really, really is, for especially for people like you said that want to stop smoking, that want to stop to curb their drinking habits, whether it's soda or alcohol. That it helps not only with like your like you could see your doctor and then go to a hypnotherapist, and then you've got a team of things, and you can actually see a regular therapist too, along with your doctor, your therapist, and your hypnotist. You're doing great. I just wish we could do more of that here.
It surprises me to hear that because, I remember the whole notion or idea of therapists seemed to be very much an American thing, so it's like over here now it's very common, but I'm surprised the hypnosis side of things then hasn't also become as popular.
I know that is weird because we do have a lot of therapists. We just don't have the hypnotherapist. So I wish we'd get more of that.
And also, I think over here, what's been interesting is in recent years, I think. And also you could tell me if I'm wrong, if there's been at least any change since COVID times as well. But I know companies here also, there's been a whole drive to, employee well-being and mental health well-being, and the whole idea of mindfulness, etc. We've been sort of at one company, they made us do some mindfulness sessions, and it's just that whole concept of looking after yourself, really, isn't it?
That's amazing that you hear about some things like that here, but I guess with the whole climate that our country is taking, we're kind of seeing a setback in a lot of things like that. I mean, y'all are progressing, we are regressing.
Well,
And but yeah, I remember, a while back that companies would do like mindful retreats and
hmm.
stuff like that, but you haven't really heard of anything like that right now. I guess they're just all worried about, like layoffs and,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I, it is helpful, I think, for you to have people like that come into your company and, get people motivated and get people out of a stuck mindset. I think that's important.
And so your podcast is here to help. So I think, as we were saying, more than ever in this day and age, it feels like this sort of thing is definitely needed. So your episodes are kind of little snippets, or not snippets, but they're kind of nice, and they follow a certain theme, and it's just to kind of give support to people in various scenarios, isn't it, or various
Right.
situations.
And I try to do a bunch of different types. I know that really hurts my algorithm because you're really supposed to stay in one niche, like sleep. Now, I've done 2 sleep videos in a row, but this next time I'm going to start getting more into like eating vegetables and, things because the water one I think went over really well. I got a lot of hits on my water, or people wanting to drink more water. That was a big theme. But yeah, my podcast just kind of hits on little snippets of things for wellness because I'm not all into that past regression, and I don't like all of that because I just feel that things with past regression and false memories and uh, there's just too much of that in hypnosis. So I'm not like a Dolores Cannon follower. Like, she's one of the ones that did all of that past regression and talked to
Yeah,
Nostradamus.
yeah,
I can't say his name like
yeah.
correctly, but I just don't believe in all of that kind of stuff. I think hypnosis is there to help people, but
Yes.
whenever you turn it into something hooky, then people are going to turn away from it. I just don't believe you can talk to your past life and where you lived on a farm and I don't understand all that.
Yeah, again, I just wonder how, if there are certain people who are more suggestive than others.
Oh, definitely, definitely. You can get that's why law enforcement doesn't use hypnosis because of too many. You can implant memories into people whether you
Right.
know if you're doing it or not. So
Yeah.
let's say all of that stuff that happened, I think it was like in the 80s or 90s with the children. There was a big case of children that were saying that they had been, hurt by these people in a daycare, and they weren't. It was just false memories planted by like trying to do hypnosis on these people, and it was a big mess. So that's why we don't use it in any kind of law enforcement here, which is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, because as you said, it can be abused, can't it?
Definitely, and you don't want it to just give people a false hope. I think that's sad.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
if you use it
exactly.
to, oh, well, I see, in your memories are stored, this is where the person is, and you're giving a person false hope. And I think that's sad.
Yeah, and we've already said, sort of like in the 80s and 90s, you had the whole stage show element. So hypnosis has
Mm-hmm.
already had its fair share of, what's the word, taking a battering almost in the sense of its, what's the word, its validity. So now,
Right.
we're in a day and age now where, as we've said, it's got a genuine purpose and it's genuinely helping people. So
And I
yeah,
think
you
if they
kind of want
keep
to
on
avoid
that
that.
trajectory of, it helps people, it helps people, it helps people, if we can get
Yeah.
that out more and more and more and put away that, oh, well, we're doing past lives and
Hmm.
talking to, Nostradamus. Yeah, I think it would help people so much.
And that's it. And, just looking at your last few episodes, you've got a couple on sleeping, sort of gym anxiety. I mean, the sleeping one at the moment, I think, is very apt for me because I've had a few nights where I've really been struggling. And it's true. The thing is, I tend to then, what I do is put a little earbud in so the wife doesn't wake up and listen to something because, you just find it's that distraction. So, and I guess that's kind of what these episodes are for, is just to listen to your voice, isn't it? And just to get that support and
I do
encouragement,
it
I guess.
for the first 10 minutes, and then usually by 10 minutes, most people go to sleep in that time in 10 minutes. Now, some people are harder to fall asleep, but I, I just didn't want to really get into sleep hypnosis just because it can just take over your whole channel and then you just can't do
Yeah,
anything else that's fun,
yeah,
you know. So I just did 2 in a row, but I'm like, nope, it's time to get back to the other.
yeah. And variety is good, isn't it? Like I said, there are
It
so many
is.
things that people are looking for guidance and support in, right? So,
Hmm. That's all right.
yeah, so the Hypno Wellness podcast will give you a chance to shout that out again at the end of the episode. But we are here for food, drink, and guests, right? So before we do, we are going to hear from an advert from a mutual friend of ours. We're going to hear from the Chat Tsunami podcast.
Oh, love him.
Welcome to Shatsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chat Tsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunani, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe.
Stay awesome, and most importantly,
Stay hydrated.
Right, we are back. So, Cindy, you know the outline. You are going to present your perfect idea of a dinner party. You are going to present to me one by one. You're going to have a course, so it'll be your starter, your main, your dessert, and each time you'll also introduce a guest that you're going to invite. I'm already number one. I'm already made myself comfortable, as I always do. You've set me in the corner. So yeah, and and I always keep forgetting the question I was going to ask. Actually, are you a foodie person anyway? Is cooking something you enjoy?
I cook. I'm not a great cook. My Thanksgiving is really nice, but my son Landon, oh my gosh, he's a huge cook, and he'll like, oh, you got to add this spices and you got to do it this way, and he's taught me so much in the kitchen compared to what I learned from anybody else. And he watches videos and stuff like that. So he'll spend an hour making lunch. That's how
Wow,
like
yeah.
into food he is. I am not like that. I will make a sandwich.
That's the same as me. I do love eating my food, but I'm not great at preparing it. So,
Yep.
so let us start with the starter. So, what are you dishing up?
We're going to do a ramekin of tomato soup with croutons, garlic croutons, and some little like bruschetta, I forgot how they say it, little sourdough, just kind of a round. But I like that little starter of the tomato soup.
Yeah, it's a nice soup, isn't it? Because it's got that sharpness to the taste, so it's not overly rich. And yeah, the bruschetta on the side. So, do you enjoy your soups?
I do. I love soup. I love
Yeah.
broccoli and cheddar is one of my favorite soups.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's really
That,
good.
yeah, yeah,
And cheese, like you could put some cheese on the tomato soup. That would be
yeah,
good too.
yeah, yeah. My wife makes us a lot of soups, but she doesn't make it, but if we're out, she does love to get a nice French onion soup.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's really good too.
That's a great start to the meal. So, who is the first guest that's coming through the door?
Mr. Rogers. I love him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love Mr. Rogers.
You have to explain a little bit because I don't think he was someone that really made it his way over here as such. But I understand he's an absolute icon over in the States, isn't he?
He is. He was a Presbyterian minister, and he kind of got started in TV because he didn't like TV, and he wanted a way to kind of, I guess, maybe minister to kids. He actually has like had a degree in something to do with TV, and he was a minister, but he did it in a way where it wasn't in your face. You know,
Hmm.
like he taught children to be kind and loving and caring. Um, he actually had a black man out on his show, and they both put their feet in a pool together, and that was something that was huge because black and white people didn't come together and do things like that. But he was just a really good, what would you say? He brought people together and he taught them kindness. He was funny too. Like he could be funny. He was witty, smart. He went to Dartmouth. Like he was a very well-rounded individual, and I just think he would just bring so much to a conversation when you were sitting there with him, and you would learn about so much that happened with civil rights, just stuff like that. So I think he would be excellent.
Just to go back to what you said, because his show, I think, was in the 50s, was it? Or 50s, 60s, 70s? So it was in those early days.
It ran all
right?
the way up until, I think, 2001. I don't think he was in it till 2001, but I think he had his hands in it, until then.
When you said his name, the only thing I'm aware of, and I've not seen it yet, is I believe they've made a film about him, or a documentary called, is it Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yes, I haven't seen that. I really want to watch it, and I keep forgetting because every time you go to watch something, there's so much thrown in your face that you forget. I need to write it down on a piece of paper.
Well, and it's also, is it on this streaming platform, this streaming platform, this streaming platform?
Do you have the streaming platform? Do you want to pay $2.99 even though you have 15 streaming platforms?
Yeah. Do you want to see it in more definition, pay more? Do you want to see it without ads, pay more? And the only reason it stands out for me is I know a couple of people, I was listening to a radio program once and they watched it and they said it's actually quite emotional, even though, again, over here he wasn't necessarily as big a name. They said it's actually quite an emotional story.
He was a remarkable man. And I just think people like that are fascinating to me. People that have had a very rich life and have done things for others. I don't know. I think life is all about helping people. And
absolutely. No, absolutely. You can either go the destructive way or the supportive way, right? And it'd be a better place with the latter. I think that's a great start, both in guests and food. So what are you serving up for your main meal?
Well, I like grilled salmon. So we're going to have grilled salmon over wild rice and garlic green beans. I just love that.
That sounds lovely. Because we don't have it that often here at home, I will like steaks and burgers and ribs, etc. But a nice bit of fish, especially salmon. Salmon is so flavoursome, but also light as well, isn't it? It's not gonna, unless you have a huge amount of it, it's not gonna make you feel bloated.
And it's easy to make, and you can just throw stuff on top of it and stick it in the oven, and like 25 minutes later, it's done. It's easy. It's not hard. The garlic green beans, I love those. Me and my husband went to Atlanta because he had a thing up there with the post office. And we went to a place called Ted Turner's Montana Grill. It's the guy that used to own CNN was called Ted Turner, and he opens up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And those green beans, me and my husband were just thinking about them constantly. We were like, oh my God, we have to have those green beans. So I just got around and played in the kitchen. And you have to have fresh green beans. You can't have, frozen or anything. They have to be fresh. And then you put the garlic and the butter, and that's what makes it.
Did I say I wouldn't get hungry talking about this after I'd eaten?
Mm-hmm.
So did you say you were from Alabama?
I was born in Fort Walton Beach and in Florida. And then I moved overseas. My dad was in the Air Force. I lived in Spain for about almost 4 years of my life.
Okay.
Then we moved here. And the reason why we came back to Mobile was because my parents, both of their parents, my mom and my dad's, they lived here. So that's why I live here now.
I know. The only reason I ask is
here.
Yeah, no, the only reason I ask is because, I do wonder, I know sort of like the regional foods in America can be quite different. Now, I was, years ago, we did a tour of the south of America. So it was mainly Louisiana. So we did New Orleans, Memphis. I think we did go into Mississippi. So, and you mentioned Florida. So I know seafood is obviously a big thing. Or can be a big thing in these areas. So I was just wondering what kind of Well, I was going to ask what you grew up with, but you're part Spanish.
Yeah. Well, I really don't remember what I ate when I was over there. I honestly don't. My mom, we lived on an Air Force base, so it's kind of like, I guess, American food. Here we have a Gulf Coast shrimp. That's our big thing here, shrimp and oysters. It kind of freaks me out a little bit because our bay, we have a lot of spillage into our bay, and they have a lot of oh, you can't eat them at this time, or there's toxics. It scares me a little bit about eating our fresh bay
Right, right.
oysters. Like, oh, I don't know if I want to eat that. Let me check the news. But it's good. And I live in Mobile, Alabama. So if you look at Alabama on a map, there's like a little split in Alabama.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, and there's a bridge that goes across there. And there's a land mass that's there just a little bit, and that's called the Causeway. And there's a lot of amazing restaurants on the Causeway. If you ever come back down, you'll have to go to the Causeway and just ask them, did they say anything on the news about the oysters?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now, so I can see exactly where you are. Yeah, because I think this trip I did go into Birmingham.
Oh, yes. Oh, Birmingham is lovely. In fact, we would love, both me and my husband have elderly parents. My mother is in a nursing home, and my father-in-law is at his house, but he has a nurse. And we can't move until, I don't even like to say that,
No,
until,
yeah.
But Birmingham is one of the places that we just would love to move to.
Yeah, and I love that whole area. Yeah, so Nashville. Yeah, I'm just remembering the route now. Yeah, we went Nashville. I think we landed in Atlanta, and then we went to Nashville, Memphis. Yeah, down to New Orleans and into Birmingham. Yeah, and the whole area, the whole food and culture of that area was just great. Even Florida. What I was going to say, where I was leading to, because you picked salmon, is the seafood there is great. Now, I've said so many times on these episodes, Britain being an island, you'd think we'd have like amazing seafood, but the thing that always gets me is when I'm in the States and I have shrimp. Now, to us, shrimp are tiny, tiny little things, but over there, they're these massive, tasty, juicy sort of bits.
We have shrimp. Y'all have prawns. And there's a difference between the two of them, because I used to think that y'all were just saying the word prawn as a word for shrimp.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Well, it's not. A prawn is actually different than a shrimp is. So, and we have different types of shrimp. So they get picked up at certain times of the year, or they get picked up from certain depths of the seabed.
Right.
So you can have things that taste almost like a lobster if you get the Royal Reds. And as you bring them up from the ocean, it does something to them. I guess it gives them the bends like a diver would, and it makes them turn like it almost like makes them taste a different way because they're brought up so quickly. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, the seafood that we have, it's really good. Like, it's good. It's just, it's scary.
Yeah. No,
with all of the pollutants, I guess. In the Gulf.
Again, in this day and age, it's always a thing to think about, isn't it? But yeah, no, I know exactly where you are, and if I'm ever in that area, you've given me that suggestion.
You'll have to come.
There.
You'll have to come by.
Yeah. Okay, so having salmon, who is the next guest on your list?
It is Barack Obama.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Oh my God! I love that man. For one, I think he's gorgeous. He's tall. He's funny. He's smart. He went to Harvard. I love smart men. That's just I love a smart man. And a person that is an orator, I guess, somebody that can speak and has clarity and is lovely. And I don't know, he has a cadence that is beautiful when he speaks, like when he does, and he just seems like he would be a fascinating person And then Mr. Rogers and him, I think, would just get along. It's like
Yeah.
they would get along. It would be like so amazing.
That's an amazing guest, and definitely both of these are the first time I've had them on this show. Well, not on the show, mentioned on the show, but
Oh.
you know, if Mr. Obama would like to go on the show, if
Yes,
he's
I
listening.
know.
But I know what you mean, and even what I was going to say is like, so even if you, for now, I know it's hard with him as a guest, but if you put politics aside, he's just, there was that aura about him, and as you said, as someone on the world stage, and as a leader and as a speaker, there was that charisma, and you listened, even
Yes.
as someone over here, you know, who's, well, I was going to say we're so distant from US politics, but that's not really the case anymore. I think over many years, it's sort of we're becoming entwined, really. But I would say that here as well, even some of our leaders, you know, recently, they're not always necessarily someone who can put confidence in you, you know, for want of a
Right.
better term. And we've had some leaders in the past who have done that. And again, political persuasion aside, he had that. He drew your attention, didn't he?
Did. And I love a smart like when you can put a sentence together and really draw somebody in, and you're not just using nonsense, and he just made you feel like there's a certain way that he made you feel like you could do anything. He's that person. He could hype you up. I think he would be like, man, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, and then you could go play basketball with him.
Yeah.
And even if you sucked, he would be like, man, you're doing the best job. Like he just reminds me of that. And I love people like that. I like to see people, I want to hype them up. I want them to hype me up. I don't ever want to be that person that says, oh, you can't do it. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
And I also don't think people should use age as, oh, well, they're too old. No, I'm 51. I can do it. You can do it. Everybody can do it. And I just think that he would just do that. I miss him. I miss him being on TV and just listening to him talk.
It's interesting what you said about who the different audience he would talk to, and I think sometimes, rightly or wrongly, again, even over here, politicians can be accused of being sort of stuffy and look down at people and that. And I think sometimes, depending on their sort of the background, maybe that's their lifestyle. They've always been around that kind of person or that kind of class level. But yeah, I think Obama definitely, you could see him talking to different groups of people and it felt natural to him. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is maybe sometimes some politicians, when they're talking to, whether it's school children or groups in the community, don't feel natural, but he had that bit of, or he had that naturalness around him when he was talking, didn't he?
I totally agree. He is the type of person, like, he went to Harvard, but he was in Chicago, and he also helped people, that were not, how can I word that? Not on his level, maybe. That's what, like, okay, he went to Harvard, he did this, he did that, he did this, but he could talk to people and it wouldn't matter to him where they were in life. He would love them. I should say he does love people. You can tell that just by the way he looks at people and the way he talks to people. He could see people in the White House and he'd shake their hand that were the janitor, and he cared about people. And that's a rare thing, to get so high on a level, to be the president, to be up here, and to still care about the little people. I think that shows, and I think that's why Mr. Rogers and him would get along so well, because Mr. Rogers would see that in him.
Yeah, you've got yeah, no, I get that. So far, I mean, the two guests you've chosen, definitely, it sounds like, and again, not being a Mr. Rogers expert, but have got that level of empathy and humanity around them, right?
That's what I like. We don't hang around people that aren't nice,
Yeah. And it's funny. So just to pick up on something you said as well, like you said about not liking people that tell, or you wouldn't be someone who says you can't do something. You said, you're 51 and you're doing this. I'm knocking on the door of 50 myself. And, if you'd have said to me at sort of just a few years off 50, I'd be starting up a podcast, and I look on social media and there are all these gamers and there are these people that say, oh, they've turned 30. Where are my 30-year-old gamers at? And I was thinking, 30? I'm knocking on 50 and I'm still doing all that, and you're making me feel bad now.
Yeah, no. Like there's some I see on Twitter sometimes that they're like, oh, they're like 25 and they're over the hill. I'm like, yeah. Oh God, then shoot me. I'm like, I guess I shouldn't be allowed to live then. Like,
yeah, but it's also like when you see people saying, "Oh, you don't need to check age anymore if the birth, sort of from 2000 or something, because they're 25 now," and you're thinking, "Wow, how much time has gone?" It's incredible, and yeah, the body sometimes lets me know how old I am, but the mind is still thinks I'm 23. That's the problem. Yeah.
I know, it really does. Your mind. I think our mind cuts off at a certain point.
It really does.
I'm 51, but I still feel like you can't tell me that I don't feel younger. Like I don't know what 51's supposed to feel like.
It's funny, if you talk to, I talk to my friends, if you talk to people, there's an age that their mind, I think you hit it right, has got stuck at. And yeah. Everyone's got that age. It's funny. It's funny. Okay, so we've had Mr. Obama come in. I've had to sit up straight now when I've seen the pedigree of your guests that have come in.
No, it's casual because they're casual people.
That's true, really actually. That's true. So, what are we having for our dessert?
Well, I figured that, Mr. Rogers is kind of, laid back. Barack Obama's laid back. So we would have like an apple crisp or an apple cobbler with vanilla ice cream. I just think I think they would like that classic treat, like it's something probably Mr. Rogers grew up with, something that Obama knows, I'm sure quite well, is that apple crisp, like that's just a good thing.
So I'm just trying to look. So it's an apple cobbler. Is it like a pie? So it's got the topping, or is it all mixed up? I'm just seeing.
The apple cobbler has more of a doughy consistency than your apple crisp. It's kind of like a peach cobbler, but you just use apples. Okay. I mean, again, you can't fault this. It's a nice classic. It's what's the word? It's like a cozy food, isn't it? A homely food. It's that nice, comforting food. Right, and I think they would appreciate that. They would be like, yeah, after we had our nice meal, and that it would just hit the spot. It would be something, that they would know, that they would enjoy,
And you started with tomato soup, and then you had salmon for main, so it hasn't been that heavy a meal. So I could do a huge portion of apple cobbler right now, and ice cream.
Get that vanilla bean ice cream.
Oh, so there you go. The question I keep forgetting to ask until I've already had the dessert given is, are you a dessert person? Because if I went to a restaurant and it was a 2-course meal, I'd go for a starter and a main rather than a main and a dessert. So where do your tastes lie?
If I went out to eat, I would probably want the starter and the meal and not the dessert, because it's so expensive to eat dessert out. I am a sweet person. Like, I'm horribly a sweet person. Like, oh my God, I love anything sweet, but I have to stay away from it. I have diabetes, so I have to kind of be like, okay, I have to kind of manage everything. So a lot of times my treat at the end of my meal is going to be something like a little piece of sugar-free chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the fun things that I found out about myself, was the diabetes. That was fun.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just constant managing then, isn't it? It's
yeah, and it's I have a normal weight. I look normal. I had a lot of thirst, but I just thought that was normal. And I went to go do a test, and the nurse called me and she's like, you need to go see your doctor.
Yeah.
And I found out I have adult onset diabetes. So just crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah.
you would not think that. But
Yeah.
I take metformin, but I also have to watch like what I eat and everything. And that sucks whenever you're such a sweetie, you know?
Yeah. 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 Because I don't know about in the States. And to be honest, as I said, I don't tend to eat out that often here. It's normally when I'm on holiday. But I remember sort of years ago when, you used to go to restaurants as a family, the desserts were just basically, it was chocolate on chocolate on chocolate with some
Yes.
cream, maybe some chocolate and chocolate and a bit more cream. And it feels like if it wasn't that, the other option was like a bit of vanilla, a scoop of vanilla ice cream, say,
Yeah.
so it doesn't feel like the range of desserts was there to kind of cater for all. And I guess you can't have too many, right? But it just felt like it was all chocolate based for a long
Oh, I
time.
know. It used to be all chocolate based, and now you have things like cheesecake,
Yeah.
strawberry shortcake,
Yeah.
like like all kinds of desserts, and they really push those at the end of the meal, and you're like, I just ate 25 pounds of, but French fries. I do not need a dessert.
Oh, and coming from a Brit going to the States, the size of your portions is just
Oh
unreal
yeah.
as well. So
And normally with what I do is I always cut everything in half, and I'll have like half of it for lunch and then half of it for lunch the next day.
yeah, yeah,
That's what I do. I cheat.
yeah. It's incredible when we come over there because we've finally learned after a number of trips. We finally learned maybe that we should like share some food rather than order one
Yes,
each. But
we do a lot of food sharing here. Well, I mean, some people might not share their food, but in the
yeah,
United
yeah,
States, like you can split a meal with somebody and it's not a big deal.
yeah. And the concept of the doggy bag over there. I mean, it's not really a thing here to take food back with you. It's not really a thing we overly do here.
No, I think that's so weird that y'all don't have doggy bags. Like, well, what are you gonna like? What do you do with it if you don't want to eat the rest of it?
Well, the portions aren't that big enough for there to be anything left with
Oh,
me here.
okay, okay.
No, there is some, and you can ask. Look, if you're in a restaurant, you can ask, "Can you take it away?" And often they will go get you something. But when we're over in the States, it's just natural. It's like, "Can I take this to go?" And it will come back in a container, and it's just such a natural thing.
And usually they'll ask you, "You want a drink to go? You want a soda
Oh,
with that?
okay,
You want a soda to
okay,
go?" They'll say that all the time.
okay. So who is the final guest?
Final guest is John Oliver.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. So why have you picked him?
I love John Oliver. I think he's smart and he's funny, and I think he would round out my guest because he would, I don't know, he's political,
Hmm.
but he also knows how to talk to all different people, and I just think he brings so much to the dinner. I just think he's funny.
Yeah, it's funny because he's obviously he's done a few things on British TV, but he's more now of an American figure, isn't he?
Yeah, he got his American citizenship. So I think
Oh
him and
yes.
his wife live here. Yeah. So he's kind of Americanized now. But I just think he's funny, and I think he would round out everybody because Mr. Rogers kind of has that comedic timing. It might
Yeah.
not come off as like real strong, but I think he could appreciate John Oliver. And I know Barack Obama would appreciate John Oliver too. I think
Yeah, like
I
I
think
said,
they
there's
would
a
all.
nice link between the two of them.
Right. I want all my guests to be able to link together and all my guests to be comfortable with one another. I didn't want anybody to strife with one another or have issues or, feel that they would have to, argue amongst each other at the
Yeah.
table. So I just think combining all three of my guests, Mr. Rogers, Barack Obama, John Oliver, it would be fun. It would be, you would have a lot to talk about. There would be so much material that you could talk about. And plus, John Oliver could give you his perspective from the other side of the world too, because
Yeah.
he knew what it was like growing up, in Europe, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think that's important to have all types of people, sitting down at your table.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to say. In a weird quirk of coincidence, we mentioned Birmingham, Alabama a short while ago. He's from Birmingham, England. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he went to. Oh my gosh, he went to Cambridge, Christ College
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Cambridge.
Yeah. Christ College, Cambridge.
Christ College.
Yeah.
Sorry, I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't think of the name of it. But yeah, I think having all three of those men with the high degrees, but also able to empathize with the little person, that amazes me, because we need smart people that can help the people that can't help themselves.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I'm just looking at this because I'd not looked at him before. I think he was born in Birmingham, but he grew up and went to school just down the road from me, where I am. Yeah, so he's pretty much local to where I am. So there you go. So we definitely have a few things in common to talk about there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you definitely would, because he would be right down. You would know like local places and stuff. That would be really cool.
Yeah, and the other thing when you picked him, so yeah, America really does have like those big evening show presenters, like the who is it? Was it like Letterman? Then you had James Corden for a long time, another Brit. Your kind of evening TV or late night TV seems to us anyway to kind of be made of those long-term big personalities fronting those topical shows.
And he's on HBO. I think he does his little show on HBO. Stephen Colbert is another one that does a late night show. I can't remember. Jimmy Fallon, all those kind of people. They do like the late night shows.
Okay. So again, another fascinating guess. I'm having a great time here. So I think you've answered this question, but I'd like to throw a few more questions at the end. So I've asked, do you think your guests would get along? And I think that's an easy one to answer, right?
Oh yeah, I think they would get along amazingly well. I think they would really jump on Mr. Rogers. I think they would just have so many questions for him.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question then is, what music would you be playing throughout the evening?
Well, I think everybody would be talking so much that we would need something like jazz or instrumental music. Nothing that would be overpowering, just a little noise in the background. Just a little noise in the background. Not anything, blaring, but I think jazz would go over well.
Are you a music person?
No.
Oh, you're not? No.
I like music. I like to play it in my car, but I'm not I couldn't tell you who was a jazz person. I would just put it on Spotify Jazz and
that's fair
let
enough.
it play.
It's so easy now. It's so easy now, right?
It really is. Yeah. My son Landon, he's a huge music person. We'd probably have him make the list.
Yeah,
he knows all about music.
Yeah, you said he's great in the kitchen, and he'd be putting the music list together. Yeah,
that's right. We'll put him to work.
Yeah. Okay, so we've finished the meal. What film would you put on at the end of the meal? So I always like to say, is there a film that would say, right, if you want to get to know Cindy a little bit better, this is a film we're watching?
I thought everybody would do well with The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
Right, yeah, I've not seen that one yet.
Oh, now that was just really good. He has his little boy, and he's trying to, do better for himself. I just think that movie would probably resonate with every single one of my guests. I think that if we could actually watch a movie instead of talk, so I think our main thing would probably be talking. But if we got to watch a movie, I think that would be our movie. Yeah,
actually, it's a very apt film, I think, isn't it?
I think they would all appreciate it. I'm probably sure they, John Oliver and Barack Obama have seen it, but, Mr. Rogers missed out, unfortunately. But I think he would really appreciate the film.
Okay, and the final question is, if you could eat anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
New York.
Oh, really?
I would just I would want to go to, I'm like a city person. I'm not, I just think there would be so many places to eat there that we don't have here. And we have a Sim's House of Pizza is in my neighborhood, and well, not in my neighborhood, but it's, in our area. And that guy is Chicago-based pizza. and people just rave and rave about it. And I just would like to go experience some pizza somewhere else, and some Italian food made by like real Italian people, not, people from Sims. Just experience some culture.
No, I get that, because that's actually where I was a few weeks ago. Me and my wife went to New York for a few days, and it's just great. You can get everything there, and because we were there many years ago, and I'd never got the pizza slice, and I said to her, I want a pizza slice this time, not a pizza, but the slice. And we went to this one place, and I hadn't been feeling that brilliant that day, so I only had the one slice. But it was so nice, and she had one. It was so nice. We said the next day we've got to go back, and
Oh, wow.
it shut early. It was our last night, and it shut early, so we'd missed it. And so
no.
I'm like, we've got to go back again now at some point.
I would just like to experience like a Jewish delicatessen, like that kind of thing, and just some really good New York food, because they're always talking about New York food. Have a hot dog,
Yeah. Oh well, you'd get it all there. So yeah, if and when you go there, you have to come back on and let us know.
That's right.
Okay, well, I think that's come to the end of the evening. So yeah, do you just want to give a little shout out and just recap your podcast again to everyone listening before we go?
Yeah, my name is Cindy Brainerd, and I am the host of the Hypno Wellness podcast. And you can listen to us everywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast.
Yeah, please do go listen. It's I don't know, I've not heard or come across many podcasts that does what you do ultimately. So yeah, it's great, and you've got such a nice, calm and soothing voice as well.
Oh, thank you.
It's yeah, do, and I'll be putting a link in the show notes. So yeah, have a look in there and do subscribe. So Cindy, thank you for being a wonderful guest.
Oh, thank you. This was so much fun. And I had to sit there and really think about who I wanted and why I'd want them and how I'd arrange things. I was even like thinking about like how I'd set my table up. What would I use?
Well, if you've got that, you can tell us. You should have said.
No, I was like in my mind, like thinking of like how I would use my table. And
well, it's funny because, even with the food, the guests is probably more so, but trying to narrow it down to like one starter and one main and one dessert, and the guest trying to pick three, it sounds like it should be easy, but once you start thinking about it, you'd say, oh, but then I could have had that person or this person.
Yeah, I know. And you really start to think about, okay, well, why would I have this person? Who would I mean, the first person I thought of was Brock, like that he's going to be my main one no matter what,
Yeah.
Like if you could magically wish somebody here, who would it be? Barack Obama. Like, he's always going to be my number one, but I wanted my whole guest arrangement to have fun, be funny, feel comfortable,
Well, as I said, if either Barack is listening or John Oliver, if you're listening, you can pop round to Cindy's. Yeah, there's a place at the table there. Or if you want to come onto the show, we'll both talk to you on the show. So yeah,
that's right.
If anyone's listening has got their number, let them know. All right, look, Cindy, thanks a lot. I'm sure we'll work a way of getting you back on again at some point in the future. As I said, look in the show notes for the Hypno Wellness link, and all that's left for me to say is come back next week for another episode of Casting Views.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want your opinion, I will give it to you. Come on, take what we got, 'cause you need it. Don't make us get